every single one of those had large numbers like you have here tonight. And we don't have a traveling circus like they have now. They pay to use taxpayers' money to ferret people around the country, to ferry them around the country. So that people from Linden now, they're taken to meetings in Berbice. That is why they're desperate, because they're not getting crowds. And the desperation has resulted in them trying to raise the rhetoric across the country. Please put down your flags. Later you can do that so I can see the people at the back too. I want to talk to them at the back too. Later we'll raise the flag. But comrades, just today, let me tell you what happened today. Today, a report was issued by Global Witness, an international NGO. And if you have the opportunity to read it, earlier I was briefing our members of parliament about its content. And it tells you the sordid story, the corrupt story, the incompetent story of how this government negotiated the contract with ExxonMobil. It speaks about Trapman being feted in Houston, traveling in limousine and fancy vehicles, and eating in the best restaurants. And he could not remember whether he went to Exxon headquarters or not. It speaks about them refusing to accept the expert views about how much oil we had and wait on the declaration of Lisa 2 so that they could have been in a stronger negotiating position. It speaks about how they rushed through the contract. It speaks about every other thing, the 18 million bonus that they tried to steal. And so, comrades, that is why we are where we are today. This oil that we worked on for such a long time. Janet Jagan signed that agreement in 1999. For 10 years after that, Exxon declared force majeure, because when the Surinamese intervened with their gunboat, we had to go to the international court to have the border settled, the maritime boundary settled, and only then Exxon resumed exploration. And after that happened, they found oil under the PPP. And then this incompetent, corrupt government came into office and stuck us with a contract where very little comes to our people now. You saw the report, $55 billion we're gonna lose. And so I don't know whether that figure is accurate, but I know for sure now that when Guyanese are working for $72,000 Ghana offshore, 28 days, 12-hour shift, the foreigner is getting nearly $2 million Ghana, $10,000 for the same sort of work. And that is not right, and the PPP will change that. Our people, no foreign company under the PPP will come and take advantage of us. This oil belongs to all of our people. It must be spent in Georgetown, here in Enterprise, in Paramacatar, wherever our people live. They must see their lives improve because the oil belongs to us. All of it can't go to the foreign companies. Our people have to get more jobs. They have to get more income from the sector. We have to spend this money on education, on the best quality health care for our people, to fix the streets and street lights, get cheaper power to people. That is how we have to utilize the resources and not get it into the pockets of a few corrupt cronies. And if you read our manifesto, you see we've said clearly that we will criminalize non-disclosure of oil money, so that any minister in the future, even under the PPP, who tries to do what APNU did, they will go to jail for 10 years. That is what we promise. the audacity to put up a banner with his picture and next to it put decency and honesty. This is the most indecent government ever, and it is the most corrupt government in our entire history, even more corrupt than the Burnham government. That is what we have today. So let me tell you about how they have squandered our fortune, what they have done. Remember, many people talk about 5 years of APNU. They believe that just these last 5 years, they've had the control of the purse in our country. But they forget that in 2011, APNU and AFC won a majority in the parliament. They had a 1-seat majority. And they used between 2011, November 2011, and when they won in 2015, they used that 1-seat majority to cut $90 billion from the budget. They used the 1-seat majority to kill the hydropower. So because by 2017, that hydropower would have started functioning, reducing the cost of electricity. They cut money from the university students. They cut money from the Amerindian Development Fund. They cut money from roads, from education, from healthcare in those 3 years when they controlled the parliament. And then they came into office, and what did they say? They said, oh, we don't have money to do anything. Yet they created 5 budgets in the last 5 years. Every one of those budgets have been bigger than any budget passed under the PPP. If you add the 5 budgets, it comes up to $1.1 trillion. That is how much they've spent. And in spite of spending $1.1 trillion of our money, every sector today is in decline. Sugar is in decline, disastrously so. Rice is in decline. Forestry, mining, construction, retail trade, all of the sectors are in decline. We are losing jobs in all of these sectors. We have lost at a minimum over 30,000 jobs already in the 5 years they've been here. Those are 30,000 persons who were working, feeding their families. Now their children can't go to school, like in the Sugar Belt in Berbice. And many of them can't put food on their table. This is the issue that we're faced with. Although they spent $1.1 trillion of our money, guess what has happened? They dismantled all the social safety nets, things that we had to support poor people. They took away the water subsidy from the pensioners. They took away the 10,000 grant from the children, claiming we didn't have money. But guess what they're spending the money on now? The minister's salaries jumped immediately, nearly by 100% to over $1 million a month. And we have 27 of them, up from 17 under the PPP. We only had 17 ministers. We now can't find drugs in the hospital, but they have a medical care plan that sends many of them abroad and their families for health care abroad. It costs us $600 million. They're spending over $1 billion now more on local travel for ministers. That is only around Guyana for them to eat and travel. They're spending $1.6 billion more for food in government, nearly $1 billion more on rental of buildings. Granger alone has bought 44 new vehicles, built a fence, painted it green, $150 million. State House painted it green, $50 million. That is where our money is going, on useless things, and to give them, the few cronies, a good life. This is what we're confronted with. Comrades, apart from that, the mass corruption, everything. Region 4 has the most people in Guyana. And they gave one man, a Larry Singh, they called him in, gave him $25 million in advance. He then went and bought a house in South Georgetown and rented that house back to the government for $12.5 million a month. A house that they call a drug bond. And so Larry Singh alone, one of their cronies, he received in a year from renting a house to the government 2 times the capital budget for healthcare for all the people of Region 4. They're giving him, one man gets that. And the whole region, they're spending half of what he gets on healthcare capital budget. This shows what their priorities are. In December of this year, last year, they issued 80 contracts. 2 contracts, 1 contract alone was for Tiwari, $820-something million to build a school that will cost $400 million. They signed the contract in January. It's illegal. Illegal. There's no, the fiscal year ended on December 31st. And yet they continued with it. But I made it clear, we're going to reverse that contract and many of the other contracts before. $600 million missing from the Durban Park project. That is directly on the Granger's office. Another $150 million from the asphalt plant. And we are not saying this. Check the audit report. Today someone sent me that many of the companies that are supplying drugs who are linked to Harman and many others, like one Singh from abroad, Bharrat Singh, he got contracts for millions of dollars, in fact running close to $1 billion. And guess what happened? They're not delivering the drugs, they're paying for them, but not collecting the drugs. So that these people can, that is why across Ghana, in spite of us spending more, nearly $4 billion a year, we're getting less drugs for our hospitals. This is what's going on. Carol, and this was in the audit report, the Auditor General's report. Check the Public Procurement Commission report. Now the Public Procurement Commission is headed by Carol Corbyn, the wife of the former opposition leader, not a PPP person. And they issued 2 reports. They said that the contract to single source $605 million of drugs from Antimacal was a corrupt contract. And that is done by the Public Procurement Commission. And they said that the $100 million feasibility study for the Demerara Harbor Bridge, it was illegally done too. The one that they built the asphalt plant from. So comrades, this I can go on tonight to talk about where our money goes. It goes to extravagance, it goes to corruption, to a few big people who are enjoying the good life. And most Guyanese have seen their lives change for the worse under APNU AFC. That is why on March 2nd, we can't take a chance. We have to throw these people out of office.
So bring back PPP, time to start over. The choice of the country, for progress and unity.
So, how did they finance the spending? If they spent $1.1 trillion, where did the money come from? Well, a lot of it came from you, the taxpayers, because they increased taxes by $88 billion more per year. This government that came into office saying that the People's Progressive Party was taxing people too much and that the VAT was too high, decided when they get into office that they needed to collect more taxes. So what did they do? They put the VAT on water, on electricity, on medicine, on data, on travel, on building materials, sand, stone, cement, on 46 food items. This is where ordinary people now who are trying to build a house or address cost of living have higher bills, and they are enjoying the good life. They have increased fees on nearly 200 taxes and fees to people. I was given an example to someone recently. If you were vending from a vehicle, the license fee under the PPP was $12,500. They increased that fee to $65,000 a year now. This is what they've done. And so they've been raking in all these taxes, taking it away from people's pockets. That is why things are so slow in the country. Not because they clean out drug money, because they have not charged a single person for money laundering. That is what they say. But because they took away all these taxes, money that people had in their pockets are now with the government to spend on themselves and the cronies. So that was not enough. They then borrowed 900 million US dollars. Imagine when we got into office in 1992, the debt was over $2 billion, 900% of GDP. That means 9 times the size of our economy. By the time we left office, it was about 50% of GDP. When we came into office, 153% of revenue, that is the taxes we collected at that time under Dr. Jagan, went to pay debts. By the time we left office, it was 4%. They had all the money to spend back. And what they've done, they've started going back to the old ways, the old Barnumite ways. Live above your means, spend out every cent, and then tax the people so that they have to pay or borrow. They took away from this generation of Guyanese, people of every race, every political persuasion. They took away a lot of development opportunities, because if we didn't have to pay back $3 billion US of their debt, that is from 1992, that's over $600 billion of PNC debt, then just imagine how much more progress we could have made in this country. But we had to do all of that and still move the country forward. And trust me, we transform Guyana without our money, and this country will grow by leaps and bounds without money. So what else did they do? They increased the taxes, they borrowed by 88 billion, they borrowed 900 million, and then they started running down everything we had accumulated. So we had nearly 900 million in US dollars in reserves. It's fallen now to about 500 million. We had $20 billion of gold in the central bank. They sold it all out and used up the money. We had $10 billion in the Geology and Mines Commission. That's gone. $5 billion now that place is bankrupt. There's $5 billion in the Forestry Commission. It's the same thing. All of the money is gone. In the Housing Development Fund, we had $8 billion there. They run it all down without developing a single new house lot, without developing one new house lot in the 5 years. So comrades, GPL now is almost bankrupt. GWI is bankrupt. Every single thing they're running down. And that's why we can't take chances, because with their style of management, the incompetence, our country is heading for disaster if they stay in office very long. And that's not going to happen, because in 30 days' time, we're going to have a new government in this country.
Since 1950, we have the service of this blessed country. Not once did we flinch or abandon our duty, no, our duty.
So, comrades, we've heard a lot about their incompetence. You have a bunch of useless ministers now, totally useless. Not just Bulger Lawrence, but all of them. Keith Scott, useless. This one who been campaigning with the dead now. She didn't even, so shameful. She said, Brother James, she didn't even know the man's name. And the people had to say, Raymond, Raymond, that's the man who died. And now the man would have voted AFC and happened. But they can't get crowd elsewhere. They can't get crowd elsewhere. So comrades, I don't need to tell you about their track record anymore. They're talking about we put out our manifesto, excerpt. You know precisely what we're gonna do. Now they're saying they want to put out a manifesto. They want to put out one. But the manifesto, if ever they put it out, will not be worth the paper it's written on. Because they put out one in 2015. They had a big manifesto in 2015. In that manifesto that they put out, they had 100 days. Within 100 days, they will double old age pension. What did the pensioners get? A $4,000 increase, but water subsidy now gone, electricity subsidy gone, and now they have to pay more for drugs when they go to the clinic because of higher taxes. They promised the university student free education in that manifesto. Granger said, within 1 year of graduating, I'll find a job for you on the platform. What happened? So the university fees have gone up by 35%. They promised the sugar workers across the country. Ramjatan stood on a platform in WIM, and they had it in their manifesto that it's PPP propaganda that they will close down the sugar industry. He said, PPP is lying on us. We'll expand the industry. We'll give a higher increase. The sugar workers have been treated like dirt, comrades. In 5 years, not as any increase, 0 increases in their wages and salaries for 5 years. This shameless bunch. And they have now terminated 7,000 sugar workers. There are many communities that relied on sugar income, like in Berbice or Wales, right here on the East Coast. Many of those people have seen their lives change for the worse. This is what they did there too. In the rice sector, they promised the people $9,000 a bag for paddy, and then 1 week later, after the government changed, Granger said that's a private industry. They put a tax on the machinery and equipment for agriculture. They put taxes on inputs into agriculture, pesticides, fertilizers. The land charges for many of the farmers went from $3,500 a year to $15,000 per year per acre, bankrupting many of the farmers in Region 5. They cut the drainage and irrigation budget. They cut the budget for farm-to-market roads. And I see Granger has the indecency to go to Berbice and to tell the people now he loves agriculture and he wants to support the agricultural sector. They promised the miners voted overwhelmingly for APNU the last time. The last time, a lot of the miners. Now, what has happened? They promised them help. They increased the tributers tax. We had to fight to get it done back. They increased the final tax from a sliding scale, a final tax of 2% to 3.5%. They put the taxes on machinery and equipment for mining. They didn't fix the roads there. Now, the miners, 20,000 miners, small miners, now don't have a job. And that is why, come March 2nd, the miners too are waiting for them because they voted for them. They promised the Amerindians to accelerate land titling. After this government came into office, 6 weeks later, they fired nearly 2,000 Amerindians, and not a single title has been issued for their lands until recently. a couple of weeks ago, they issued 2. And then Keith Scott went into Parliament and said Amerindians are greedy people. They must not get any help from oil and gas if they get more land. The racism of it, and until now, Granger has not condemned it. So the Amerindians are waiting for them too in the hinterland, and they're waiting for March 2nd. Everywhere. They went to Linden. They told the people they had an 11-point plan for development. Nothing has happened. No jobs, etc. We had built a call center in Linden. 88 persons were working there. Now those people are out of work. They shut that down too. These people, anything they touch gets destroyed. Anything they touch. I didn't want to say the word, what it turns to. But you know what it turns to. In the bauxite industry too, the same thing is happening. So what are they gonna, they promise better health care. They had a big banner, vote APNU AFC to end maternal and infant mortality. Maternal mortality has gone up, infant mortality has gone up. 300 odd doctors of the 1,000 that we had trained have left the system because they moved them from contract gratuity to pensionable establishment. They're depleting the whole sector. As I said before, we don't have drugs in the hospital. Vishwa Mahadev used to be the head, a medical doctor, used to be the head of the regional health authority in Berbice. When they came into office, they fired him and put a man who was a clerk in a bank. Never, and even got fired from the bank. Nothing, he knows nothing, because they put their cronies in place, and he's related to one of the government ministers. This is how they manage the health care. So what are they gonna come and tell us they're gonna do for us? They started this rumor, they will give every family $5,000 a year. Now, 5,000 US multiplied by 200,000 families, that is $1 billion a year, US dollars. We're only collecting 300 million from Exxon, but they're gonna share out 1 billion, 3 times more. It's pure nonsense. So they will write all kinds of things. Granger will promise to come and feed you cocoa rice and plantain chips the next government. So don't believe him. No, he will give you this time not cocoa and plantain chips. He'll give you steak and duck curry and everything else. He could promise whatever he wants. Nobody believes them anymore because they broke every single promise. They could come and promise to bring anybody here. You know, that is the nature. So next 2 weeks, you're gonna see them come out with some new promises. If people believe that, then you're gonna be really stupid. Anything that these people say. Because they fooled a lot of our people. People genuinely believe that. The last elections, many of the rice farmers told me these are strong PPP supporters. Yes, being given 9,000 why? So we got to vote for these people. Well, what happened? We knew that. We knew they were not going to do anything for agriculture. We knew they were not going to do anything for the sugar workers. We knew that. From the very behavior in the parliament when they had the 1-seat majority, we knew that. But a lot of our people got misled. And so we can't allow that to happen again, comrades. We're working very hard, and I know many of you, if I walk through the crowd, you will want one thing is on your mind. You would say to me, we know we have the numbers to win the elections. And I would say to you, yes, but we can't take it for granted. We have to make sure that every single person turns out. We're not taking anything for granted. And then you would say to me, next question is, but will they rig the elections? This is the fear on the minds of most of our people, given the PNC history. They're worried about that. And let me tell you, we are not a party that was born yesterday. Chelly Jagan set up this party since 1950. We've struggled in the colonial era to bring benefits to Guyanese of all races, all religion, and until now we do so. We struggled against 30 years of undemocratic rule by the PNC. We did not give up. We struggled against when they used to take the ballot boxes away and change the count. I witnessed that as a young boy. And so many of our comrades, the older comrades right here in Enterprise, know what I'm talking about. A lot of young people don't know that. And so we know about PNC rigging. We know that they would always try to rig. And that is why the party is extremely watchful. Extremely watchful. We have decided from the very first day that that is crucial. That is why we have been making a call to ensure that within GCOM, that there are people who watch the Secretariat and what's going on in there. You have seen how Granger tried to put someone there who would have rigged the elections for them. In this guy who talks about decency, repudiated the Constitution of Guyana. He violated the Constitution. He rejected 18 names from me. This is on the last 25 years, both parties had agreed on that formula and respected it. He didn't do so. And then he appointed Patterson to the position. I heard Patterson has come to Fowles or somewhere here. All right. So comrades, when Patterson was placed there, we knew we would never have elections, free and fair elections with Patterson. And that is why we sought his removal. We went all the way to the Caribbean Court of Justice and we got him removed from GCOM. Next, they started an illegal house-to-house exercise. And that exercise was supposed to drop about 50,000 names in the PPP stronghold. And we said to people, we're gonna fight that too. We went to the court and Justice Roxanne George ruled it's illegal to remove people's names from the voters list, and we blocked that too. And when they tried to get 37,000 people merged to the list as new registrants under the house-to-house, we opposed that. And we found that it was only about 16,000 people and they had to be verified. And we ensured that that happened. All along, there was a fight to ensure that the list is clean. And then when this was done, they said they were going to make 88,876 changes to addresses. And we insisted that they notify people now, and the OLE is out. The official list of electors is out, and we are now checking to see all the changes did not disenfranchise Guyanese, but particularly the supporters of the People's Progressive Party. Now, comrades, you have to play your part in this regard. The official list of electors is out now. We have to go take that list and go to every home in every village, and you have to help. Don't leave it on a couple of activists alone. Don't leave it on 2 persons to come around and check the list. Every one of us must give a little, help a little. We have less than a month to go to get rid of these people. So you must help. I came here to Enterprise to ask you to do that too, wherever you live. Help a bit, check your name is on the list in the right place, so that on election day, we have all of our people ready and we bring them out early in the morning, and by 10 o'clock, we should win this one. By 10. But checking the list not the only thing, because on election day, we have to watch out for them again. And that is why we're very happy. I just met the Prime Minister of Barbados before I came here. I had to rush and change. I even had to apologize to her because I rushed out the meeting and changed. And I came here from that meeting. So CARICOM would send in an observer mission too. But you have the OAS, the Carter Center, the Commonwealth, the European Union. All of them will be here on election day to observe elections. We want as many observers across the country so that any shenanigans. And you see, comrades, there are many areas in the past where we did not have polling agents or we had weak people. So when the afternoon mobs come out that some of the leaders arrange, then they intimidate others. And at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, when the poll is closed, many of the presiding officers will allow the remaining ballots to be voted out. So if only 70% people turn out, they would allow the 30% to be voted out and put it in the boxes. So now we are fixing this. We are putting our strongest polling agents in those areas so that they can do that too. And comrades, you heard Walter Lawrence and Winston Jordan and Basil the Dunce Williams. And they're all saying, oh, people must come out and protect the ballot and all of that. And we complained to the ERC and the international community. The chairman of GCOM wrote us. She was a former judge. And they said GCOM issued a statement, it's illegal to be around the places. What Volda and the others are urging is illegality, to break the law, and we intend to pursue it. But this is a sign of desperation. They're totally desperate. I heard many of them are trying to look for jobs abroad, transfer their assets overseas. Well, we will check those too, don't worry. I need some coffee to get going here. I'm going to speak a little bit more, drink some coffee, and then continue. So comrades, trust me, we are watching everything. You have to be vigilant too, but you have to play your part. Because now we're counting at the place of poll. And you can't mess like take the boxes anywhere. We will watch the boxes. Our polling agents will follow them. We're talking about to GCOM about a chain of custody to ensure that those statements of polls are constantly in the sight of our polling agents until they're opened by the RO and the tabulation takes place. Yes. So, trust me, we are looking at that too. All of you are worried. It's a justifiable fear. You should worry. But trust me, I worry too. That's why I watch it carefully. And that is how we have to be. Vigilant, constantly vigilant with these people. And don't worry about the bullyism and the threat of violence. Many of them, that's the only thing they can talk about. They can pull down flags. They can try to intimidate us. They tried all of these years to try to do that. But we are not easily intimidated. We're not frightened easily by that, no, trust me. They used to say that the United States of America supports them and therefore will give them another 5 years in office. That's what they're telling their supporters. Well, it was the United States of America that in September called the government unconstitutional. They put out a statement with the British government and the European Union saying Granger is unconstitutional and he must declare name a date for election now. That was in September. The 3 congressmen who came here had one message, that they want free, fair, and peaceful elections. A week ago in Geneva, in a review conducted at the UN panel, on a UN panel, the United States representative said that this government is undermining democratic principles in Guyana because of its misapplication of the Constitution and the rule of law. You recall, they have no decency. They did not comply even with the court ruling. So they like to think, they like to peddle that so that our own people will think, oh, they have the US on their side. The United States of America has made it clear in our private conversations and publicly that they want free, fair, peaceful elections in Guyana. So comrades, we have to not just win power, we have to start from day one to fix things. We have to now undo a lot of the things that they did. So we have to put people back to work. That's the first thing. And how are we going to do this? We made it clear that we are going to give all the incentives. The miners, we're going to remove and reverse all the tax increases that they made in the last few years, so people have to pay less taxes. Now this would be a big help to the miners. They can go back and start earning. It would be a big help to people in manufacturing if we remove the tax on exports, on machinery and equipment, etc. It would be a big boost to agriculture. The fishermen would then have their say once again without VAT and the other implements.
So bring back PPP, time to start
It will help the rice farmers because if we revert the old land charges, they then can afford that. We'll put back the drainage and irrigation budget. We'll remove the taxes on pesticide and fertilizer, on their tractors, their combines, their implement, so they can go back to work. This is what we have to do to get people back to work. And more importantly, we made it clear that we are reopening the sugar industry.
Since 1950, we have been service of this blessed country. Not once did we flinch or abandon our duty.
And a lot of them want to do analysis now. Half of them are totally useless. Some can't even read, but they're analyzing why we can't reopen sugar. Well, let me tell you, whatever it costs, we have to do it. We have to make sure that people can feed their families, they have work. Because when there is an alternative, then we can start adjusting. But right now, there is no alternative. People can't find other jobs. When the other jobs start kicking in, then you can start looking at adjusting there. But right now, it is more feasible to keep sugar open than the closure. They couldn't find $5 billion a year to help the sugar industry, but they're eating up more than $5 billion a year in this government. That's what they're doing. Because the priority is different. Because sugar is closed, so many people now are not contributing to the taxes. Taxes are falling there because they're not working, they can't pay taxes. The NIS is almost bankrupt now because if we don't cure the NIS, if we don't fix NIS, all the people who've been contributing to NIS can one day realize that they're not going to get their pension or any benefits, because right now on the APNU the scheme is becoming bankrupt. They're bankrupting that too. We have to fix that. We have to make sure that people are working, comrades. These people have no conscience. And imagine the Ramjatan, the useless one, and the rubber stamp goes in Navajo too. He rolling around the place all over you. They have nothing to do all day long. Gone to, well, yes, they don't have anything to tell people. 90%, no, I get about 80% cussing at all of their meetings. They're cussing Jagdeo. As though that bothers me. I'm here strong supporting the people of the country. You think that bothers me? Then they cuss their fun a bit and they talk about the good life, everybody getting the good life. The stupidest campaign I've ever seen. You cussing your opponents rather than telling people what you're gonna do. But nobody believes. They can't tell you what they do because they broke all their promises. And they have no achievement to campaign on. Like we could have campaigned, we achieved something. But they can't do that because they have nothing to campaign on. So putting people back to work is critical for us. We need to restore the 30,000 jobs that we lost. We have to make sure that more of our young people have jobs. We have to get more people prepared for jobs. So we made it clear in the schools, we have to help people. We have to also not just work on jobs, but cost of living. So how are we gonna do that? We have to make sure that in the schools, the parents, they have textbooks, enough textbooks for all of our kids, so that parents don't have to pay for textbooks. We have to put in place a nutrition program. We have made it clear that in the primary schools, that we try to introduce more of these facilities that would help young people. But more importantly, you have heard about us restoring the 10,000 grant, and it will get to 50,000 per child in a short period. And comrades, I have to warn you, everywhere in Barbados we say this, people are thinking about making more children. Some people say, I passed the age, but they're still thinking about it. Because if you have 4 kids in school, you get $200,000 a year from the government. So, but we need the population, because we need a lot of people here to develop this country. So don't let that be a constraint on you. So, comrades, we have to make sure that we remove the VAT on all the things that have pushed up costs of living. So we will do that too. On the food items that they put the cost of living, on water, on electricity, we'll remove the VAT immediately on those. We'll make sure that the building materials, etc., VAT is removed there too. So this is to ensure that the cost of living comes down, prices are lower. And more importantly, we have to get water and electricity prices down and more reliable. So we'd have to start resuming negotiations on the hydropower. But let me tell you how incompetent this government is. Now, in 2016, they're supposed to make a decision on how we use the gas from the oil wells. And so, until now, no decision has been made. It's one we'll have to do. So guess what has happened now? Exxon started producing, and now the gas comes up, and we are burning 1 trillion cubic feet of gas per day. At the current price, that's $2 million a year, per day rather, that we are burning. Over 400 million Guyana dollars we're burning every day. That gas could have come on shore and be used to generate cheap electricity so we can supply cheap electricity to our people. So the first week in office, we're going to start looking at building the pipeline to bring the gas in, to generate the power. So within 2 to 2.5 years, we can reduce the cost of power significantly because we don't have to import oil anymore to generate electricity. We'll be using our own gas to do that. And then we can have the price lower to people. The cost of water will go down too, because if the price of water, the main thing is the electricity to pump the water. And if that price is lower, then the cost of producing water will be lower. This would help our industries, our businesses, not just cost of living, to generate more jobs because they can invest and it would lower the cost of production. These are things that we have to work on immediately because we need to make sure that the cost of living goes down. To help with the cost of living among the pensioners, we made it clear that we're returning free water to the pensioners almost immediately. But we made it clear also that within the 5 years, we're going to make sure that the pension is doubled. And when the PPP says that, it means it will go to $40,000 a month for old age pension. So 40,000, when the people again in Berbice heard us say $40,000 a month old age pension over time. So I went into Blackbush Polder, my Bikuri. They said to me, can't you drop the pension age, old age pension to 50? Then people dying out here quickly. So by the time I reached the front polder, they said, can't you drop it off to 45 years? Then I came out, I had a lot of meetings that day, 16 meetings. So I came out on the road in Ramtatan village. By the way, his uncle cussed him up and said he's useless in his village. Nobody goes to his meeting. His uncle said he had 3 people that he brought there and 6 dogs at his meeting in his own village. So the people there said, can we drop it to 35 years old age pension? So we're not making no such promise, comrade. The pensioners are going to get the 40,000. The others got to work a little bit longer. So we're not up to making wild promises, but when we say $40,000 per year, per month for the pensioners, we mean it. We'll work towards that. Every year we'll add, so within a few years they will get that. That is what we mean to help people lower the cost of living. If you do that, you put $45 million more in the pockets of the pensioner. What that will do, they will spend it back. They'll spend it in the markets. They'll spend it on taxi. They'll spend it on medicine. That comes back into the economy, creates more jobs. Similarly, our children, they restoring the grant to the children will put nearly 7 and raising it to 50,000 will put $7 billion Guyana dollars into the economy so that more wealth could be in people's pocket and the families can deal with this. So comrades, these are some of the things we have to work on. We made it clear, housing. Now they're giving out. One named Eric Phillips, when I said he had a large tract of land, 2,000 acres, he wrote to the newspaper Stamford News and said Jagdeo is lying, that he never got that and I should bring evidence. So I brought a map from Lands and Survey. Until now he has not said a word. 2,000 acres of land they gave to him. The head of MMA, the last head of MMA, got over another 2,000 acres of land there at MMA when they're taking away land from ordinary farmers who have 15 acres, including many Afro-Guyanese small farmers who they took away land from, who came to us and we had to represent them. We had to represent them. But they gave it to one of their big supporters. He got 2,000 acres. Another one got 10,000 acres. The current chairman of MMA, 10,000 acres at 5 house lots per acre could do 50,000 house lots. And they can't find house lots for anybody. Now they're going around giving people a little slip of paper saying, oh, you'll get a house lot. But those people who got it didn't get a little slip of paper like this or an application form. They got the title or the transport or the lease, the big cronies. 60,000 acres of land they've given out to about 10 persons. And when nothing for housing, this Granger says in 2015, I want everybody to own their own house. And I told you about what they did, taxing the material, the sandstone, cement. Well, those will be removed too. And we will do 50,000 low-income house lots. When I say low-income house lots, I mean house lots that will be sold for less than 100,000 Ghana dollars. They criticize your funds great, but he got the size and the energy to deliver that promise to you. Because you know he was Minister of Housing. Aggressive, not like these dodos he got all around the country he used to be. He got energy. Even now he's working somewhere. So, comrades, these are a few of the things. There are lots of other things. We have to spend more on ensuring that the crime rate goes down. So Granger goes to around the country and he says to people, oh, Jagdeo and the others are responsible for the killing of people in that era, the period that he called the Troubles, when the bandits went into Buxton. So I said to him, why did he not do a commission of inquiry? He has done commissions of inquiry on everything. Guess what they did? They took one bit, Lindo Creek, where Feynman accused the army and the police of killing the people. And that's what they took Trotman's father, spent a ton of money, and did a commission of inquiry. Why did they not do a commission of inquiry starting from the escape of the people? Who helped them to go into Buxton? Who were involved in the massacre at Luziknan or at Agricola or Bartica? You remember the conversation between Felix and Basil Williams. Basil Williams saying, after Agricola, the murder's there, but you help us out. And it's recorded. Why? We know. You know why they didn't do that commission of inquiry? Because many of the PNC leaders used to go in and support these bandits, call them freedom fighters. They cause a lot of people for the people of Buxton. A lot of people in Buxton could not support them, but they were afraid. They were afraid because those bandits raped many girls in that area. Many people had to flee from the area, people from Buxton. They would go in and get a group of children and women to block the soldiers and the army and the policemen when they go in there. They were helping. If anybody is responsible for the deaths in that period, it's APNU. You know they're glorifying criminals. We never, in the PPP, glorified criminals. We believe that the full force of the law must come down against every criminal. And Granger talks about this, but he campaigned on a safer country. They said they had all the security experts. What has happened? Over 630 murders on the Granger. And he talks about security. And when they asked him about it on an interview, guess what he said? Oh, I don't deal with problems. What about the security problem? I deal with solutions. So the guy asked him, what's your solution? I appointed 4 deputy commissioners, and he used to say they were unbribable, to run the investigation for bribery and corruption now. That is it. This guy lives in a different world. Goes to sleep at 8 o'clock, I told you. Now, 8 o'clock is not bad to sleep at if you're going to wake up early and do work. But this man, you can't run a country like that. You know, he comes, he makes a speech, cuts a ribbon. He's not God. He's not a king. We don't have a ceremonial president. Under our constitution, we have an executive president who's both head of state and head of government, unlike some countries. If you have a ceremonial president, that's a different matter. But he's responsible for every act of corruption that they have now too. The negotiation with ExxonMobil, it's not just Strutman. Granger has to sanction that. But guess what? He said he has not even read the contract. How can you do that? So comrades, don't worry with this Granger chap. Let me tell you, they can't solve any crime problem. They can't solve it. They have no plan whatsoever. We have to invest heavily to ensure that the crime rate comes down so that people can earn more, they can keep their money, etc. These are crucial things for the future. So I want to ask you tonight to read about our plans. There are several plans for university for our children. We're not promising university education immediately. We believe by year 2 we can afford a free university. And we're going to do that. And we're also promising all those kids who still have loans to the university to find a pathway to writing off those loans. There'll be 20,000 online scholarships to children across this country because we've demonstrated that we believe in training our people to provide for better jobs for them. That is why we have shifted. We're going to go back to the 1 laptop per family that they stopped. They stopped that so that each family can have a computer, even if they can't afford one now. Those who can't afford it, so that you can connect to the internet. We plan, so there are lots and lots of things we have to do. I told you already, I think it was mentioned here tonight, about lowering the taxes on data so people can use more of their phones, etc. We're removing all taxes on phone. We're going to lower the taxes on vehicles, new vehicles, but old vehicles, we're going to remove the ban that they had on 8 year and above, vehicles older than 8 years. You know what they did? What happened when they put in place that ban? The cheapest vehicle, the price went up by over $1 million. The cheapest vehicle. You check it out. So how can you want young people to afford a vehicle, etc., when the policies are harmful to them? In the United States of America, you can drive in Miami and you can pass 10 places that sell used tires. But our Granger, the King Granger, believes we must only use new tires in the country. So he banned new used tires, but in the US they can use it. That ban is gone. We'll remove the ban too. They used to, you know, there are lots and lots of things like the 2 a.m. curfew. From the time say he fighting crime by putting in place a 2 a.m. curfew. And he's drinking liquor all around the place after 2 a.m. In fact, he just sober up about 4 times and get high again before the night done. And he complaining about people. This is the sort of thing. We gotta move swiftly. We gotta ensure that people's rights are protected. That is one thing you're voted for. You've seen the direction we're going. Granger is becoming more and more like the past. So instead of respecting a no confidence motion and the launch of their campaign. Guess what he said? He said, this no confidence thing is not a good thing. If I win the elections, I'm going to remove it from the Constitution. So let me tell you, India has a no confidence motion. India has 1 billion voters, not a million, 1 billion voters, and the government can fall on one vote. In the United Kingdom, they've had 400 odd years of a parliamentary system. It's a mother of the Westminster system in the world. And a government can fall in the UK with millions of voters on one vote. But in Guyana, King Granger doesn't like that. He bigger than the Queen, you know, in the UK.
They say he fake his degree.
But comrades, we can laugh about it, but it's very ominous. Rather than talk about jobs, rather than talk about reducing cost of living, keeping people safe in their homes, rather than talking about fighting corruption, what he talks about, oh, they treated me badly, I'm going to change the Constitution to wipe out no confidence votes. That is where they are. And then everything else, comrades, about the green state economy, decade of development. If you listen to these people, they have no vision, no plan for the future. They can't talk. If the devil comes down and they win, because only the devil can help them now, not God. And they win. This country is doomed with their management style and the way they approach development. So tonight, I know I don't need to tell you about these things. You know what has been going on in our country. You know about our plans, and I want to urge you to read about them. They're excerpts from the manifesto. They're online. Just go download it. It's only 8 pages. We have some circulated. We put it on newsprint. You can read about our plans for every sector. And you can rest assured that you can trust us to implement what we put on paper. We have a broad group, people from every race, every religion, people who voted APNU are coming to us now, people who left us and went to them have come back in our folds. We have to make sure that we win these elections in a massive, massive way.
So bring on PPP, and just start over. We're sorry for everybody.
So once again, I'm not going to keep you late tonight and Monday night. And so, because we need you ready, as soon as the list comes out, the final list is here to check it. We need you ready to talk to your relatives. Make sure that if anybody has to go out, they don't go, they vote before they go out. I went to number 66 village there, and a lot of the fishermen said to me, we're not going out on that day, because it's their investment. They see so much depends on it. Make sure we don't lose a single vote. If someone has to go abroad, delay it a bit. If some of our relatives are abroad and they're coming back, let them come back early. If some have gone to work abroad, they can come home, vote, and then go back. Too much is at stake. Our freedom is at stake. Our future is at stake. Our country's future is at stake. Our family's future is at stake here. We can't take these elections lightly. And that is why they can't be the strength of the vote. You can't bully people when they go into the polling place. You can't do that. And therefore, I'm counting on all of you, this massive crowd here tonight, that all of you, if you play your part, then their victory is assured. So comrades, don't drink on the morning now. Listen, the morning, no drinking till the night time. After you vote or after you vote, right? Make sure, comrades, that all the comrades, if the people come early to drink, the people who own shops and stuff, chase them to vote first and then come back. Later you can vote in the day. So comrades, I'm counting on all of you, every single one of you. Please help. We got 30 days, less than 30 days to go. Less than 30 days. And then we can move this country forward together under the People's Progressive Party. Thank you very much, comrades. Thank you.